Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode number 31 in the book of John. We're in John chapter 4 in this beautiful story of the woman at the well. And yesterday they were having a bit of a sexual conversation, which very quickly led to a spiritual conversation. It was about how many husbands and what her body count was. Then they had a little bit of an argument about worshiping and where one should worship. So they had a little bit of a spiritual disagreement. And Jesus really flat out tells her, you worship what you do not know. So being kind of worshipfully desirous is not enough. You have to worship the right thing. You have to get the object of the worship correct. And in a sense, Jesus yesterday left us in a kind of an offensive, position. So this is from John chapter 4. I'm going to start in verse 22. We worship what we know, for salvation is from the Jews. But the hour is coming and is now here when true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and truth. For the Father is seeking such people to worship him. Verse 24, 4:24. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and in truth. The woman said to him, I know Messiah is coming, he who is called Christ. When he comes, he will tell us all things. Jesus said to her, I who speak to you am he. Jesus says, I am he. I am the Messiah. This is the biggest reveal in the history of the world. So the Father, let's back up just a little bit. The Father is seeking worshipers. That is, he is seeking true, accurate worshipers. Desire, and I'm a spiritual person, isn't enough. You got to be right. That is, you have to have the object of your worship correct. If you're worshiping, a plant or something, it's like, no, you missed it. Now, only people can worship. So I was thinking about an elm tree this morning. An elm tree in its big height will reveal God's glory and God's creation and God's creativity. And in a sense, an elm tree can glorify God, but it can't worship. Well, what's the difference? Because worship is voluntary, and it's apparently not universal, and it's certainly not easy. So you must worship in spirit. That is, you have to. Where does worship come from? It comes from yielding the will, a decision that you make in your decision-making center. When things are difficult, I will worship. I'm going to set my heart. And you have to do this in truth. The Lord wants people to be in right relationship with him. Now think about this. This is one of my big insights for the day. Write this down. There is no right relationship with God that does not involve worship. He is due worship, and people that believe in him worship. So use this as a marker. If you are not worshiping God on a regular basis, then I'm going to tell you definitively that you are not in right relationship with him. Because to have a right relationship with God means that you worship him on a regular basis. So if you have a right relationship with God, you regularly and accurately will be worshiping. You'll be confessing truth. You'll be agreeing to what he says. You'll be telling him things about himself. All right, so let's get to the big reveal, which is the fun part of this story today. So she says, hey, I know Messiah is coming, sort of in pie in the sky. Remember what Messiah is. Messiah is the Hebrew word for Christ, which is the Greek word for being anointed. So Christ, so when we say Jesus Christ, Christ is the office. Jesus is the occupier of the office of anointed one. And it kind of turns the page from the Old Testament to the New Testament, from, hey, we're awaiting people to we're an actualized people. So not someone is to come, that someone is here. Not he's going to tell us all things. She says, well, when he comes, kind of pie in the sky, when he comes, he's going to clear all this up. And she kind of makes an implied promise, I think, when he comes, I'll believe in him. When he comes, I'll trust him. If I could just find the right God, I'll believe. He'll speak and I'll listen. So here's the big reveal. Jesus stomps into this hated people group, the Samaritans, with this unseen gender, female, with this confused theology. He says to her, hey, you don't worship what you know. Salvation even isn't from your people group. And all these things are going to rock her, and it should rock her, and it should rock us. Jesus is sort of the big rock. So Jesus is going to claim here in a second to be the answer to an Old Testament problem that has a New Testament solution, and he is saying, I am it. So when she started this morning, she was in this waiting period. I'm still waiting. I don't have to decide about Messiah. And Jesus is in her face, and he comes today and says, I'm going to plop this right into your spiritual world. And having faith with God is not optional, because he's going to give her, at the end of this, he's going to give her a Y in the road. Agree? Disagree. She gets to opt. She gets to sort this out in her spirit. Now, God is going to help her, and God is going to clarify things. But he starts with this offense. Hey, you don't have your morals correct. You don't have your history correct. You don't have your geography correct. You don't have your source of salvation correct. And if we would stop right there, it would just be offense, offense, offense. The big reveal is beyond that. He says, I am he. I am Savior. I am Messiah. I am the Anointed One. I am the completion and the answer to all of this Old Testament stuff. So he is going to leave this in her lap. So this implied promise that she kind of makes, like, hey, when he comes, I'll trust him. So none of us are compelled to believe. Now, in a sense, this is a wrestling match that we're watching here between Jesus and her, but it's a good-natured wrestling match. He is going to give her spiritual freedom. Nothing is compelled at the end of this. I'm not saying that it's not wrestling. He and she are definitely engaged in a truth battle here, but it's good-natured, unlike with the Pharisees. So if you learn of him in truth that he is the right object, he is the right person, and if you see him, and if you agree to put your faith and trust in him. So what will she do with the biggest reveal of all of history? It's just a great question. I know I often say this, but let's see what happens. That's the beauty of this narrative story. We don't read ahead just yet, and he's plopped in this big reveal. Will you worship? Will you see? Will you start to have a right relationship with me? And how do we know she has a right relationship with Jesus? Because she'll be worshiping. There is no right relationship with God that does not start with worship and continue with worship. If you're not worshiping, you're not in right relationship with God. Stick with me tomorrow. We'll see what happens to the woman at the well.